Hello and welcome back to another Gunpla review. Today we're taking a look at the high-grade Gundam Breaker Battlogue Blazing Gundam. And starting off as always with the articulation, the head's on a barbell polycap, meaning it gets a lot more range than the original God Gundam. This far back, this far forward, this far to either side, and a full rotation. The shoulders are the same, a front-facing polycap hinge with a ball joint. You can get the arm pretty much fully across the chest, and full rotation. Then there's a hinge out to the side, which pretty much gets 90 degrees. A rotation at the bicep, though something's kind of weird with the molding, because I swear it could get more than this on the God Gundam, but it kind of feels like I'm going to break it if I move it further than this. Then a single jointed elbow for just over 90 degrees. The boosters on the arm can all move out. And the wrist, as always, is on a ball joint. Then you get a ball joint at the waist, which isn't crazy, but it gets the job done. Front skirts are ball jointed, though they do have to be separated. Side skirts are on a hinge, and the back skirt is on a hinge, though it doesn't move much. The hips are attached to a polycap, so you get a little bit of wiggle and a little bit of rotation front to back. Then universal joints for the hips themselves. Get no problems up with a high kick. Over 45 degrees out, though the hip skirt does get in the way a little bit there. Then there's a thigh cut, which does break the sculpt, but it works fine. A full bend at the knee. The hidden thrusters in the leg can slide out, though it's really tight on this one. There we go. And then the feet can get that far forward and that far back, with a pretty serviceable ankle tilt. So the articulation is pretty much identical to the God Gundam. The only real difference is the neck, and that's not a huge improvement. I mean, it adds an extra like 30, maybe 40 degrees, but I'm not entirely sure that was worth the sacrifice of the core lander gimmick, especially when they couldn't be bothered to add another elbow joint. Now moving on to accessories, let's start off with the sticker sheet, and by extension, color correction. You'll notice I've only used a couple of the stickers on this, and that's the eyes and the cameras for the head. Aside from that, it's the camera for the other headpiece and just black, which I've filled in with paint. So, to go over what needs to be painted, the eyes if you don't use the stickers, but the black here and here on the face, around the Vulcans, though thankfully they're white on this instead of yellow, so you don't have to paint that. Including the black vents on the back of the head, the 8 black vents on the backpack, both sides, top and bottom. The very thin booster vents on these large fins on both sides. The black on the skirt, including in these thrusters on the back skirt. The black in here, black in the front of the legs, black on the thrusters inside the leg if you feel like that, though honestly doesn't really make a huge difference. Black on both sides of the ankle, black on both sides of the foot, black in that thruster and these little tiny side vents. And honestly, it's not that bad. You could do all this with a black Gundam marker and it would look just as good. Okay, maybe not the sort of triangles on the feet, but aside from that anyway. Then getting into accessories proper, let's start off with the option part for the head, which I've elected to leave on the runner because I think it's really ugly, personally. It has one head camera and then a fairly standard Gundam head crest gem. Yeah, I think if it was more integrated into the head instead of just being flat on the back, so it's just a clean cut between red and white, I think it would look better. It's up to you, of course, if you like it or not, but yeah, I don't really care for it personally. Also, this is not one of those hot swap parts. You kind of have to get in there and pull some things apart in order to swap this over, so it's not something that you really want to be swapping a lot. It's more of a pick one and then stick with it kind of thing. I elected to go with the more standard God Gundam style head, partially because you see the masked one on everything, including the box art, and honestly, mostly just because I like this one more. But you also get a couple of hands, 2 closed fists, 2 holding hands, and you also get the God finger hands in gray, which I mean, it's nice they included it. I guess it's mostly because they were reusing the runner and couldn't cut it off, but I'm not really sure what you could use these for when it comes to actually posing. Aside from maybe like blocking a sword or something, which would be cool, but yeah, I didn't cut them off just because I don't really have any use for them personally. And we'll get into the rest of the leftover parts a little later. Because next I want to go over the fact that you do still get the God Gundam's beam sabers here on the skirt. They're completely identical down to using the same beam effects. Though in a lovely sort of turquoise-ish color. It's sort of a green-blue. It's a really nice color. Of course, you also get the beam tonfa, which have the same hole because they also use these. A little bit low. Same hole. Because these also plug in here. And these just slide into the holding hands, but they're actually held decently well. They don't just fall off, at least, which is nice. The same really can't be said for the storage on the back because they come right off. I really feel like there could have been a better way to attach these because these have fallen off like 4 or 5 times just doing the articulation. And it just doesn't really feel like they're held all that securely back here. And finally, you do get the blazing kick piece, which replaces the foot and the ankle. So basically you pull it, pop off the ankle guard, and then slap it on this and plug it back in. Now, getting into those extra parts, because yeah, this thing really comes with like half the God Gundam. You get the claws for the arm gauntlets, so you don't actually get the gauntlets. You get an extra hip piece, which is weird. They include a new one on this in white, but it has the exact same dimensions as this one. I don't really understand why they did that. You also get the wrist pieces for the old, hands. Like I said, the God finger hands. Then you get the runner that was originally red, which means you get the original feet, the original shoulders, and the back pieces in dark blue. Then you get a duplicate runner, though it also includes the original shoulder pieces that held the shoulder gatlings, the original face piece, the back of the head. For some reason they include a second one. Again, it looked completely identical to me, but I used the one they wanted me to. Then you get the original ankles, the original shin, the top of the shoulders, and both of the other wing pieces. So yeah, if they included like one more runner, you would basically be able to make the God Gundam in these colors. And as for a quick size comparison, it's obviously the same height as the God Gundam, which is a little bit shorter than average, but not by much. So to wrap this review up, I'm very happy with this kit. I don't love it quite as much as the high-grade God Gundam, which I've also reviewed, but I still think it's really good. It's not a massive step up. I mean, it has a better neck, but I mean, aside from that, it's completely identical articulation-wise. But I do absolutely love the concept. In fact, I had this exact idea myself about a week before this was announced. I was like, hey, it'd be nice to have like a sister unit to the God Gundam the way the Rising is to the Shining. Maybe give it like Rising colors with like a red chest and call it the Blazing Gundam. Yeah, and maybe give it a female pilot, that would work. And then Bandai did the exact same thing, but made it part of a Battlogue for a bad game. But, anyway, can't hold that against the kit. It's what I would have done. So, yeah, if you have any interest in picking this up, I don't think you'll regret it. It would make a great companion piece to the God Gundam, though the no belt also works in that regard. Or you can do what I'm going to do and put it up against the Denial Gundam from Build Fighters Try. Anyway, that's all for this review. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, helps a lot. Subscribe and hit the bell for future reviews. Go follow me on Twitter for updates. And consider supporting me on Patreon so I can keep making reviews just like this one. And as always, until next time, happy building.